Ladies and gentlemen, it is 3:59.
We're just trying to do what you guys want. Yeah, we can't have this fight.
That was like I did go. Ooh, that reverberated in here. I would like to call to order the Johnson County Board of Directors of the Johnson County Library. It is our regular meeting on April 14th, 2022, and I am so excited to say that we are live and in person in the Carmack room after many years. So welcome everybody to our meeting. First on our agenda would be any citizens' comments. Did we receive anything in the mail?
There were no comments in the mail from citizens this month.
Okay, and anybody here? It doesn't look like it. So we will move on to remarks. Do any members of the Johnson County Library Board of Directors have any comments they would like to make?
I'll comment.
Yes, ma'am.
This is my last board meeting. My term is up at the end of this month. So I just want to say thank you for the beautiful flowers and card. And it's been a nice experience here, getting to know you all and learning about this fabulous system we have. I also got to go to the PLA conference in Portland last month, and that was fantastic. So I thank you for the opportunity to do that. It was overwhelming how, I don't know, can't really even describe it. It was overwhelming. So I really enjoyed it, and I appreciate this opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And on behalf of the board, thank you for your service, for all of the things that you have done over the course of your term. I've got to point out, guys, having the podium in between us makes for terrible collegial connections across the board, so we may want to rethink that in the future. So thank you very much.
Yeah, let me just talk about the room setup. Because we're in Carmack, and it's the first time we're in Carmack, and we're also streaming today, we had to set up the cameras and the podium in a way that was going to work both for the physical piece and for the filming. And so we wanted to get your reaction, which is good, and we're noting it. We've looked at other options. What's
Maybe
that?
a shorter podium?
Maybe a shorter podium, or
high top tables like a bar?
certainly. Okay.
But the Johnson County Library is all about innovation, so we're going to keep innovating in our space until we find something that works. Yay! Okay, any other board members? All righty, and then we will go on to me. It is very nice to be back in the Carmack room at our newly refurbished and very, very pretty Central Resource Library. So as you can see, we may have a few bugs to still work out in our new space, our old new space. I have to say I do like the fact that it is a much calmer color in here this go round, which I am enjoying more. And that is really all for me. It's nice to see everybody's face in person. That's also very exciting. It's been a very long time. That is all from me for right now. So on to Friends of the Library, please.
Good afternoon. It's serendipitous that I am presenting in person at your return to Carmack. So welcome back. So to say thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board and Mr. Casserly and Commissioner Hanslick for this opportunity to report on Friends progress on behalf of the Executive Committee. We have a couple of notable items this month. What we've accomplished in a month's time to start. Reconfiguration of our Pine Ridge headquarters is complete. It's been a joy to see our supporters in person at the first pop-up sale of the year, which was held at the end of March. There were significant concerns going into the sort to sell reconfiguration that shoppers would not find us inside of Pine Ridge Business Park. And those concerns have been easily swept away. They find us. If there's a cheap book to be had, they will find us. Our net sales exceeded budget, which is obviously a top priority for a self-funded organization. So checking that box, we can say that renewal of the in-person program services we offer is obviously an additional priority as we once again build and sustain our community, specifically of the book-loving supporters and donors. It's often the same group of people, not always, who love the thrill of the hunt and the delight of finding a book for $2 or less. So, we've had our second sale, so there's a couple behind us now, and still we doubled that budget. I'm not sure if exponential growth is, we'll see how that goes. But if you're not receiving advance notice of these events, please be sure to provide your email address when you join us at joinjclfriends.org. And the second thing I'll touch on is that we are thrilled to have worked with library and county facilities staff on a successful relaunch of our donation acceptance process. We have some locations where we're working towards, by the end of the year, launching donation acceptance at all branches. In the meantime, please continue to come to our Pine Ridge location any morning between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. through the end of April. That's going to shift. We're a nimble organization, so when we need to adapt, we adapt accordingly. So we'll be shifting these to 9 to 11 a.m. as of May 14th, and this allows for a members-only component of our biannual pop-up sales. And I'll just add a gentle reminder that we don't hold those events during inclement weather. We value our community's in-kind support, and we want to keep those books and those precious volunteers safe from the elements. So, you have any questions for the friends? All right, thank you.
All righty, thank you. And now from the Johnson County Library Foundation, Miss Stephanie.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is kind of a scary place to be. I'm just lost my notes. No, really, this is intimidating. I liked kind of reporting from the back. That was nice. Anyway, this is amazing. It's great it's so great to see everybody. Thank you. Thank you for all you do. I am delighted to report on behalf of the foundation. I do want to follow up with Shanta and congratulate the Friends on an amazing year. The Friends took this place in Pine Ridge and turned it into a sort to sell center. And a lot of it was with the support of the library. The library bought a sorter for the Friends, and it's just become this little pop-up party every couple of weeks. And it's really impressive how they just continue to pivot to make the Friends work and raise funds and reach out to the community. So good job, Friends. For my report, as I mentioned last month, this event that we're hosting, it is the 4th annual 1952 Society and Reader's Circle Appreciation Event. And I think you might have one of these at your place, and you probably got one in the mail. It is just an opportunity to really show appreciation for the longtime donors, friends, and volunteers of the library. So I don't need to elaborate, I don't think, but I really hope you can come. It'll be fun. It is Sunday, April 24th from 3 to 5 in this room. We will transform it into a really lovely event space, and we're going to have a pretty cool speaker. This Arthur Muir, he's the oldest American to have reached the summit of Mount Everest. So he's going to talk about setting goals. It's, I don't know, we can all probably benefit from that. So I hope you can come, bring friends, just RSVP, and we will look forward to being in person again and expressing appreciation to all of our devoted library lovers. Something else we did recently is we hosted the Black and Veatch sponsors. So the Black and Veatch Makerspace is a really important part of our library. The renovations are so impressive, and we had guests from Black and Veatch come and visit. So this partnership is in its 7th year, and it was really great to have the three makers are remarkable. They really know how to put on a show. So it was really fun to bring everybody together with our Black and Veatch partners. It's another year to apply again for funding and sponsorship. So whenever we need to pull people together to find reasons for them to do this, we will reach out. Library That's Loose is also you're just gonna hear about that all the time. And we have the sponsorships. We have the sponsorship request out. And we received our first major sponsorship today from Logan and Watson. And I don't want to embarrass you, but thank you very much, Logan and Watson, for supporting this event for another year. It's an exciting time to plan this. We are planning it in person, and it will be September 17th. So mark your calendars. And I just want to do a teeny shout out. Steph New is here. Steph works so hard on this event, and I just want to say thank you, Steph, for all your work on this event. That concludes my report. Are there any questions?
Stephanie, I have a question.
Yes.
On the next Sunday event from 3 to 5, do you know approximately when the talk will take place? Is halfway through, at the beginning, at the end kind of thing?
3:30.
Thank you.
Halfway, we're going to gather. We'll have refreshments. Yes, it'll be fun. And it's about 3:30.
Okay,
Yeah, if you
thank
can
you.
come. We'd love it. Anything else?
I think that's it. Thank you. All righty, Commissioner Hanslick.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I've got some exciting news to share. This morning at our Board of County Commissioners meeting, we received the results of the 2022 Johnson County Resident Satisfaction Survey. And under the overall satisfaction with various county services, guess which were the top 2 services that our residents love? Number 1 is parks and recreation, and number 2 are libraries. Woo! In fact, according to the data, in 2019, Johnson County Libraries had an 81% satisfaction rate. In 2020, during the pandemic, it went up to 85, and this year, 2022, it's at 88%. So that is really quite remarkable when you consider that the library wasn't even open a lot of the times in the past couple years. And so thank you to our library director, to all of the library staff, to the board for this really, really incredible achievement. And frankly, I think we were all blown away by the levels of satisfaction in Johnson County for all of our county services. The full survey will be online fairly soon. But I also wanted to mention, I thought this was really interesting, the most critical role for the county coming up in the next 10 to 20 years was identified as making sure that necessary health and human services are available. So I think that's very encouraging because that's what we're working on. In fact, I just came here from a meeting on homelessness and housing. So we've got our work cut out for us, but overall, the county got just wonderful results. We are a leader in the whole country, far and above the national ratings and even cities counties of similar sizes. We're head and shoulders above. So congratulations to the library for being among the top 2 services that people love in our county. And you always want me to share what I'm reading, so I did finally finish that book, The Great Dissenter, about Supreme Court Justice John Marshall Harlan. Oh my gosh, it was a fascinating book, but it was not a quick read. But now I owe Fred Logan lunch. I told him we're going to go out to lunch and discuss this book. So I finished it last night. So, but I'm moving on to another very light book. This is one that came to my attention. It's called Anti-Intellectualism in American Life by Richard Hothstetter. It actually was written in 1963 when I was 2 years old, and it was awarded the 1964 Pulitzer Prize in Nonfiction, but it's recently become more popular again because it's talking about anti-intellectualism as, and I'm quoting here, a social attitude that systematically undermines science-based facts, academic and institutional authorities in the pursuit of theory and knowledge. And here at the library, we're all about the pursuit of knowledge. So I'm going to dive into this one next. So thank you, and that's my report.
Thank you very much. Mr. Logan, and the board report, please.
Thank you. We were asked to do a kind of an overview for you on the library budget review and approval process. This process has been developed over many years, and it represents a number of different legal sources, which I'm going to touch upon, even including a couple of Attorney General opinions in the 1990s that helped clarify the fact that the library board is the governing board of a separate taxing district. It's not an advisory committee or anything like that. And so it must be dealt with as a board with statutory authority. The budget process is actually spelled out in statute as to how that works. And it is very much a joint process. The library board is to make a budget proposal and submit that to the Board of County Commissioners. The commission must ultimately approve the library board's budget. If it doesn't approve it, it sends it back with changes. Then it needs to be approved. But it is very much on this issue. There's some issues where the library board has absolute authority. For example, on selection of library materials, absolutely, without any question, that's a library board function. The employment of the county librarian, that's by statute, a library board function. But when it comes to budget issues, then that's a joint process. So there's a recommendation from the library board to the Board of County Commissioners. They then consider that. You may get a different look, and then ultimately, but ultimately, no budget can go into effect without both the library board and the Board of County Commissioners approving it. So you can't put a library board budget into effect without getting the approval of the county commission. This is spelled out in the Administrative Regulation Manual, Section 1070-10. It also gives a very useful history and list of all the different sources that come into play on the library's budget. You know, and I'll just cite KSA 12-1225B that talks about powers and duties. And it says in there that any action taken by the library board or its county librarian shall be subject to the following provisions established by the Board of County Commissioners. And then subsection 4 is budget policies and procedures, which budget shall be approved by the Board of County Commissioners. And you compare that up with subsection A that just says in Johnson County, the library board shall, just for example, subsection 5, employ and terminate the employment of a county librarian. So this is clearly on the budget process. I think they just wanted me to walk through the fact this is very much a twofold process. Library board approval of a budget and then submission to the Board of County Commissioners. County Commission is going to have ultimate authority over that budget. So I think that gives you a pretty good overview of the process. Any questions on that? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Casterly.
Yeah, I'd like to invite Dave Bratney to come up and give the financial report.
Thank you, Sean, and good afternoon, board. I'm going to direct you to page 8 of your board report. That's the Johnson County Library Total Revenue Report. We're reporting on the February 2022 numbers, so we're approximately 17% of the year, 17% of the way through the year at that point in time. And we had collected a little over $22.2 million, which is about 51% of our anticipated $43.9 million, which is a little bit ahead of where we were at this point last year. And then in looking at all expenses for all funds, reports here that we've spent $10.6 million. That has the collections encumbrances in those numbers, along with an interfund transfer that's been made. If you took out the encumbrances and the transfer, we're well under the 17%. So we're on track for our expenses at this point in time. So with that, I'll take any questions you might have with regards to those finances. And then if not, I think there's a slide in your packet as well that I was just going to quickly kind of go over. Fred discussed the process. I have a calendar here. So today, we're April 14th. A little bit later in this meeting, we're bringing forward a proposal for the 2023 budget. So hopefully we'll have that approved and then be taking that forward. The county has their proposed budget overview with the Board of County Commissioners on May 12th. So that has the overall numbers, which would include library numbers. And then from May 19th through June 9th, agencies and departments begin doing budget discussions with the Board of County Commissioners. I believe ours is scheduled for May 19th in the afternoon. On June 15th, then the board receives, Board of County Commissioners receives assessed valuation numbers, final numbers from the county appraiser. That has some influence potentially on where the Board of County Commissioners will set their maximum. And there's some deliberations there in mid-June just to kind of put the final proposal together. And July 8th would be when that final budget gets published. Well, I say final budgets, the proposal gets published in the newspaper. Governing bodies, and there's a couple items in here that relate to that Senate Bill 13 that was recently passed, which requires those governing bodies, and which we'd be included in, notifying the county clerk of our intent to exceed revenue. And then those go out in a consolidated message that goes out by mail and email then to all taxpayers. So that's something new. I don't believe that anyone's received that, and this will be the first year those go out. So those go out around August 10th. The county, along with Parks and Library, plan on doing the budget public hearing to adopt those BOCC resolutions and those revenue exceeding the neutral rate on their August 22nd meeting. And then the Board of County Commissioners reviews that input at their August 25th meeting. And then at the end, September 1st is when the Board of County Commissioners should be adopting the 2023 budget resolution. So I know that there's a lot of dates and a lot of information I just went over there, but just kind of gives you an idea of where we're at in our process and how many steps kind of come in between now and then. So any questions?
Dave, do you have any information on the property tax appeals? Is the assessor seeing a lot of appeals, or as far as revenue projection?
So based on conversations that I've been privy to, the appeals are about normal in terms of what they've received, which was, I think, maybe a little surprising just given the assessed valuation growth, as I understand it. So, long story short is I think they're expecting the appeals to not be all that much different than they have been in past years, which probably is a little surprising to the county appraiser.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, well, thank you.
Hey, Dave, quick question.
Dave.
On the letters that have to go out, so we're able to combine with the county?
Correct. So we'll be working in conjunction with the county on those, along with the Park and Rec Board and the BOCC. So we'll go out on one.
So we won't incur any additional cost then, or share cost?
My guess is the county's picking up that tab. And if we're to share in on that, they haven't informed us as such yet.
Yeah, this is the first year that those are being sent out, so I think just the budget and the logistics are being figured out. And I think if the county came, and then we'd be happy to pay our fair share. It's just a matter of figuring out what amount that is and being able to differentiate that. Of course, it wouldn't include Olathe, right? So that's where we're a little different than Parks or the county in general. So that would offset the price if we were to contribute.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks, David. Adam would be able to give us the statistics on this month.
Thank you. I'm Adam Wathen. I'm Associate Director for System-Wide Services here at the library, and I'm joined today by Michelle Beasley, our IT Manager, who will be giving the IT statistics after my presentation here. So, as usual, our first slide shows the physical circulation and digital usage, and these statistics run through the end of February, so that's about a week after we reopened our Central Resource Library. For context. You can see in 2022 in that short green line that those numbers pace very closely with the 2021 blue line, slightly above it. And so we're slightly short of last year's numbers still. We'll continue to watch these to see the impact of the reopening of Central on our physical usage. And the next slide shows our visitation rate. Our visitation is pacing significantly higher than last year's numbers, but still hasn't regained the visitation we are seeing prior to COVID-19 shutdown in mid-March of 2020. So do you have any questions on those two slides before we move on to IT? Thank you.
Oh dear. Wait. Okay. Hi, I'm Michelle Beasley, the IT manager here at the library. The customer experience IT team tracks the numbers we're reviewing today. And the slides I'm sharing today track over several years. It's a little bit different than the other slides that you saw. This shows that public computers remain popular. In 2021, the number of public computers were fairly steady, with the number showing slightly less due to a little change at Cedar Row due to a renovation and moving around the public machines, and that change was based on usage. The decline in the public computer sessions, I think, is a little bit relative to the fact that the public computer numbers are the total number of computers. It doesn't actually reflect the fact that several of those computers were not available for public use a large portion of the year due to the central building upgrade project, right? So we had 98 computers in January, and then in February, central dropped down to 9. So that is a little bit what you're seeing in the sessions there, I think. Next slide. Okay, and this shows basically our public wireless use and patron printing. And this is kind of a reflection both of the pandemic pattern change that we're talking about over and over again, and also central reopening as well. We expect to see those rise as patterns normalize. What questions do you have for me? Thanks so much. Appreciate the time.
Thanks, Michelle. I think one of the things we're seeing, just particularly with people coming into the building, is when we begin to do in-person programming, particularly with story times, I think, and other programming, I think we're going to see a rebound as people come into the space, but we're still seeing that lag across the system as far as door counts. And so I think that's going to be something that we look at in the future to reintroduce the library. And I did see, just a shout out to the Overland Park Chamber had a wonderful ad put by Melissa and the staff with introducing library cards and part of that campaign. So hopefully that will entice people to come into the library. I want to invite Scott Syme to give us an update on our comprehensive library master plan.
Thanks, Sean. Good afternoon, everybody. I'll go ahead and start with an update on the Antioch replacement project. Let's see, next slide. A little bit about design. We're currently closing out of phase 2 of design, which is called schematic design, and moving into the next phase. So there are 4 of those phases. What we're getting ready to go into is design development. This is where the project's core team, led by our county facilities colleague Juan Lopez Tamez, and subject matter experts from materials handling, branch, IT, and system-wide services, will continue to refine the design to the next step, capturing more details and specifics, finalizing the design, specifying materials, window and door locations, and other general details. Next slide, please. Here's a brief look at what is coming next. So I want to mention that we've been meeting with professional staff from the city of Merriam throughout design. They've asked us to come and do a design preview to their city council here in April, so we're excited to be doing that. And then May, we'll bring a design update back to this library board, and then we'll look at sort of those final approvals in June and July. So that's pretty exciting that we're getting closer and closer to construction of that new building. Next slide. Here's a look at our timeline. We're pretty much right in the middle, where that red arrow is, right in the middle of design development. No changes since last time on that. Any questions on Antioch before I move on to the Desoto, to the next one? Okay. Next up is a report on Desoto, Spring Hill, and Edgerton renewal study. Next slide. So today I'll talk a little bit about our process for public and staff engagement and some information that we learned through that, the next steps, and then the timeline. Next slide, please. Okay. So we used a few different ways to collect feedback from staff and the public for this study. We had an online survey. Also, paper copies of that survey were available at each of those 3 locations. We did a public, live virtual public engagement session with breakouts for each location. Also, staff input sessions, and also we talked to our county peers about those locations. We had over 350 responses from the public in the form of surveys. We also had some good, insightful comments at the online engagement event. High-level trends, you'll see a few of them there on the slide. We had patrons express a desire for a wider range of hours. Patrons also expressed that they want to keep the access they have to collections, being able to both place holds and browse in the building. Desire for collaborative and quiet study spaces. And then the last one there, an appreciation for the friendly staff that works at those buildings. Next slide. So you'll see a few of our next steps there. We're working on conceptual designs to bring back to the library board in a couple of months. Also budget estimates to go along with those. And then we'll bring those back when they're ready. Next slide. Here's a look at our timeline. We're right at the beginning of that conceptual design period. And yeah, that's all I've got for DeSoto, Spring Hill, Edgerton. Any questions on that? Yeah, Commissioner.
But I had a quick question, just to confirm. Do each of those three libraries have Wi-Fi and broadband access?
They all have Wi-Fi access for our patrons, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
The access, the broadband or internet access serving those buildings is a little different from building to building.
As I'm surprised nobody said anything in that regard.
Oh, sure. What I'm presenting here were really high-level trends. We did have a few folks talk about internet access and public computers and that sort of thing.
Okay, thank you. Looking forward to more details as we move along.
Thanks. Next part is just a look at our overall timeline. So next slide, there we go. This is a look at our kind of big capital buildings. You can see that the red dash line keeps moving along to the right. We're finishing up Central. We're right in the middle of design on Antioch, and then we are also in the middle of that study for those three smaller libraries. Next slide. This is a look at our capital replacement program anticipated timeline. And so these are our 4 priority buildings for this year: Cedar Row, Oak Park, Gardner, and Shawnee. So you can see kind of where we're at with that. We do expect to bring a closure request and contract request to the library board. That was on your agenda for today, and I think we might move that to the next time. Otherwise, no updates to this timeline this month. Any questions on this capital replacement program timeline? Okay, thanks everybody.
Thanks, Scott. I'm just going to give a short update, but while I'm doing that, Nancy Birmingham, why don't you come up and get ready for your portion of it? But there are a couple of things that are going on, just kind of with the financial climate, particularly with these construction. We're still having supply chain issues, and so we're aware of that. We also are aware that interest rates and inflation is also a problem for us. What also the Director of Epidemiology, Elizabeth Holshoe, just kind of talked about the coronavirus, particularly the BA.2 and the BA.2.1, particularly in New York, but it's being underreported here in Johnson County, positivity rates, just because there's so much home testing. But when they're looking at wastewater, they're seeing that the BA.2 is in the community, that has no further health risks. Again, the meeting in person, COVID is still poses a kind of an existential threat until it, becomes endemic. So that's part of the calculation for disruptions on that process. And David and the rest of the admin team are just watching these to see what the numbers look like and what changes we might have to make. And we have, again, reserves that will allow for us to flex, if anything, if inflation does prove to be an issue for us. And again, if inflation does prove to be an issue when bonding in the future. Nancy, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay. My name is Nancy Birmingham. I am actually the Assistant Branch Manager for the Leawood Pioneer Branch. I am also project lead for the migration of ebooks and e-audiobooks project. So we are very excited to announce that the library will be switching our vendor for your listening and viewing pleasure of our ebooks and our e-audiobooks from Access 360 to Libby by Overdrive. Isn't it nice to bring good news, that people want to hear? It's great. Just for a little background, in the spring of 2021, we actually did a fairly extensive study. It had over 7,000 patrons, 60 staff, us and Olathe. Many of the school districts were involved about various programs, the Access 360 that we currently use, as well as 3 other contenders for our business. The Libby app was resoundingly the best option. This looked at strategic alignment, quality, value, security, confidentiality, most of all, patron and staff experience with the app. So hands down, Libby was the winner. Which brings us to the migration. Next slide, please. So the project itself for the migration kicked off January 4th. We will be shifting from Access to Libby. Moving week is a very exciting time for us. The process has already started. We are pausing our holds in our current app of Access 360 to enhance the migration so that when we roll out Libby, we are ready to go. So the timeline itself is pretty simple. It began in January. We completed our purchase agreement with Overdrive in March. The holds migrations, which is what I was talking about, has just begun, and moving week will be May 23rd through the 7th. It's not as simple as flip a switch. So we don't have a rollout day, we have a moving week. One might ask what the delay is between now and then. Well, one of the things we wanted to make sure we dealt with correctly were the patron holds. Many of our patrons enjoy putting things on hold and having access when it becomes available. The same process for ebooks as, not the same process, but a similar process as for our print materials. So we were working with Overdrive to make sure that you don't lose your place in line. Right? That's very important to our patrons, our constituents, possibly the library board itself, that nobody lose their place in line for these very popular items. So again, the rollout will be that last week in May. We hope to have everything fully operational, ready for those car trips on Memorial Day weekend. Just as a further note, I forgot to mention one slide back, that you will also be pleased to note that this is a revenue neutral move. So it will not be a budgetary impact. And with that, I will be happy to take any questions.
Yay. I'm really excited
Or
that
kudos,
it's
we take those.
budgetary neutral, but I wouldn't have cared if it wasn't.
Commissioner
Yay.
Hensley?
I had a question, please. What will it look like from the user end? Because I recently got some kind of an email letting me know this was coming. Will I need to do something? Will I need to get rid of the Access 360 and go in my app store and upload the Libby, or go into the
You read my notes, didn't
library?
you? This is great. The only information you will need is your library card number and your PIN, just like we use for everything. And it is an app that you can get from your app store. You can actually get it and use part of our collection today, as this is the app we currently use for our magazines. I don't know if that's my cue to be done. But it is actually our current app. So this is how we're offering our magazines right now. This app is being used by our joint libraries in the metro area, Kansas City Public, Mid-Continent. It has the ability to have multiple cards. So if you've already got it for another library system, you don't hardly need to do anything but add your Johnson County Library card to it. It's a great experience. It has excellent self-service user help, so the patron experience itself should be positive. Any other questions? Obviously, I'm very excited about it, so.
If you manage to use 360, Libby will be no problem whatsoever in terms of usability.
I just want to congratulate if we can do a revenue neutral and improve the services. That's a win.
For staff and patrons, this is a huge win.
Nancy, does the Libby platform also allow you to download a Kindle format, or will that feature be able?
This
enabled?
actually will let you download for a Kindle Paperwhite,
Yep.
which was a service not allowable with our current Access 360. There's a few glitches with the Kindle Fire. I'm not going to hide that, but still a very usable system.
Thank you. That concludes the county librarian report. If there aren't any other questions for Nancy, great job, Nancy.
All righty. Keeping it short and sweet today, I appreciate that, because we're going to be here for a while. So, on to the consent agenda. Need a motion for that, please?
I move the Library Board of Directors approve the consent agenda.
And I need a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Okay, it looks like we have some information items. Anything? So then on to old business. We have a budget proposal. Oh, only $47 million and change. Wow,
Yeah, Dave,
okay.
are you going to step through the slides on this one? Okay.
So I know there's a briefing sheet in your packet, but I'm going to walk you through just a few slides to highlight kind of what we're bringing to the table, if you'll indulge me here. So our highlights for the 2023 proposed budget. The current proposal you have in front of you includes a 3% merit pool. I just want to be upfront about that. The compensation proposal for the 2023 budget is still being discussed, so that number may change a little bit from what's being proposed. We think we can accommodate from within the total. We just want to let you know that there may be something more that is done. There are new positions in this proposal for a social media coordinator and then library clerks for our Antioch library replacement project. If you may recall, there's a drive-through that's going to be added to that location, so a new service point for that community. Increased operational funding in this 2023 proposal for IT maintenance and replacement. We have increased funding for our library capital replacement program, our CRP. It's not that we're adding projects to that, but that's to address the inflationary impacts on those projects. We believe that will hopefully take care of things from that perspective. We do have funding in this proposal for the Desoto, Spring Hill, and Edgerton Renewal project. That current number, and I'll get into it, is a placeholder. There's information still forthcoming that may change that number. That is being funded by our reserves, and so if the number's more, we think we can accommodate that. The increased capital transfer into our comprehensive library master plan, our CLMP future projects account, is anticipated also as by way of these proposals. So with that, the next slide, please. So we constructed two scenarios here. The first one shows what we would be under our current county library mill of 3.908. You can see it plans to add $110,343 for the social media coordinator and the library clerks, another $423,000 roughly for the information technology maintenance and replacement increases. We've got additional funding for that CRP as discussed, the $1 million for the renewal projects, and then we were anticipating additional funds under this scenario of about $2.2 million more than the transfer that we're making in this year, which is $1,350,000 into that account. So in total, there's about $4 million of increases just in those areas that we're showing here. Next slide, please. And that doesn't show up so well on the screen I'm looking at back over here, but essentially what scenario 1 shows you is their current estimated 22 budgets, a little over 43.8 million. And the current proposal under scenario 1 would take us to 48.7. So that's about a $4.9 million increase, or about 11.24%. You can see the large part of that is transfers to capital projects, being around 111%. So what the main driver is there is property taxes under this scenario go up about 9.6%. And what we've been told here most recently, and this is the county appraisers have some revised numbers, that increase is more like 10%. And in fact, we probably have about $182,000 in additional revenue that's not being reflected in these lines. And I apologize that those numbers are changing, but they're changing in a good way, I guess. So where we're at and what we're proposing, next slide, please, is what we're calling scenario 2. And it would have a modest rollback of about a 0.1 mil in the library mill. That still gets us an additional almost $2 million in revenues or expenses that could be used towards our additional funds for capital transfer for our comprehensive library master plan future projects. And then next slide, please. Which would reduce the property tax increase to about 2.6 million, or around 6.77%. Drops our transfers to capital projects to 76.92%. But still, from where we were and where this would put us at, we put together a proposal based on a little over 4.5% increase in our property tax rates. So we're still putting in more money into our transfers to capital projects, the comprehensive library master plan, even under that rollback scenario, and takes us to a little under 7% growth on property tax from a dollar perspective. So I know I just covered a lot of material there, but the good news is where we projected to be, and even where we would be under scenario 2, is greater than what we had anticipated to be, and still allows us to address our capital projects on time and hopefully on budget, even with a modest rollback. So with that, I'll stand for questions. I'm sure there might be some. Okay.
So basically, by increasing that, we're going to reduce what we're going to need to borrow in our bond, correct?
Correct. So so you may recall in our meetings in January, the way we were going to have to, I think, approach our future capital projects had quite a bit of money coming in by way of our reserves to help make some additional cash. That this proposal, even with the rollback, just because we're setting at a higher amount, probably requires less of that and may not require any of that, depending on how things go forward.
Depending on inflation, of course.
Well, inflation, so yes, cost of things, interest rates could be a factor as well on any money that we do have to borrow. So, but yeah, we're in good shape, relatively speaking, so.
I think scenario 2 for the budget committee is very close to the numbers that happened. Scenario 1 was unexpected. Property values just went up. We want to bring a budget to the BOCC that they can approve, and it's going to be my recommendation that we take. I'm going to recommend scenario 2. We budgeted this with basically a 5% increase, and we're actually going to capture 6.9, even though we've rolled back a mill or, across budget.
All righty. Anybody have any other questions, comments, concerns? If there are none, I would take a motion, please.
Okay, so what we're just talking basically is the issue, consider approving the county librarian's recommendation for 2023 revenue and expenditures of $47,638,402. And I'm looking for a motion for that.
Yes, please.
I'll move to approve the county librarian's recommended fiscal year 2023 revenue and expenditure budget of $47,638,402.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries. Wow, it's not every day I get to spend $47.6 million. Woo-hoo. And $2, $402. I like how specific that is. I appreciate that even in our budgetary expense, we're not rounding up.
Yeah.
I feel like in a $47 million budget, going to the dollar place is incredibly specific. Okay, on to new business.
What I'd like to do is table action item A, the Cedar Road Construction Services Term and Supply. There's some process that we need to review before I bring that in front of the board. So with your permission, I would like to table that.
Sure thing. Okay, then on to B, creating a project account for library building physical security upgrades.
So this is consider authorizing and reallocating expenditure fund balance reserves from the library operating fund in the amount of $600,000 and to establish a capital project account for library physical security upgrades, specifically addressing security camera upgrades, key card access with those funds. So once that's what I'm needing a motion for, and then because it's coming from reserves, the next thing that we would be doing is going to the BOCC and asking permission to use those reserves also.
Okay. Any comments, questions, or concerns about that? All righty. If there aren't any, I would take a motion, please.
I move that the Johnson County Board of Directors authorize the reallocation and expenditure of fund balance reserves from the library operating fund in the amount of $600,000 and to establish a capital project account for library physical security upgrades, specifically addressing security camera upgrades and key card access with those funds.
Okay, now we take a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 And those opposed? That motion carries. Okay, and the last thing is, it is election season. Why we do it in April and not November? I feel like it would be more dramatic in November. But it is what it is, so it is today. So, do we have a slate list? Whoever was on that committee, it was David, Kelly,
And Mitra.
and Mitra. Okay, do we have a slate list anywhere? Because we can't approve.
It's in your packet on
Okay,
page
so I'm
65.
waiting for a motion then. Okay, and do we have any questions, comments, concerns, or just a second?
For your information, we have the chair as David Sims, vice chair as Kelly Kilgore, and treasurer Bethany Griffith.
Okay, need a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries. With that, sir, dun 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 dun.
And with that, does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I move the Library Board of Directors adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Oh,
I just want to make one more comment. And I wanted to, again, thank Brandy Butcher for serving as the District 4 representative for the past, it's been 4 years, hasn't it?
A little over. I took
Little
over
4
somebody else's.
years. And really appreciate her work on behalf of District 4 and the residents of Johnson County, and wish her well and appreciate your work.
are there any other comments before we? All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
And our joint board and BOCC meetings in here, correct?
Yes, the joint
At
meeting
6.
is at here at 6 o'clock.